Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank all of you for being here. Mr. Cashman, I'm interested in balance, and I guess the question is there a restriction that we can impose on China if they choose to impose a restriction on us? And this is a broad general question because as I listen to this, I'm trying to figure out whether the issue is fear of someone withholding stuff or price, but go ahead and just tell me, are we currently in balance or out of balance?
Congressman Bentz, that's a very interesting question. I think, we have to think as a nation, how much dependence do we want on a foreign nation like China? Right now, in the case of amoxicillin, 80% of the API, the starting material used to make the API, it's called 6-APA, comes from China, okay? We're very, very dependent, and therefore, I think things are very much out of balance. We're so dependent upon China in the case of amoxicillin.
And I think you indicated earlier that the challenge for you is what in expanding your footprint in that space from 5% to something higher? Is it price? Is it, you said something about contracts, and I wasn't quite clear on what the restriction was when it came to contracts.
One of the challenges we face is contracts. Yes, contracts give us consistency, it gives us stability, it allows us to make investments in personnel and in equipment. So those long-term contracts, and we've had some success on the commercial side with that, but we haven't had success yet on the governmental side.
And why not?
I can't explain that, sir.
Is there some, does it have something to do with the bid process as preventing long-term contracts? Or is it on the government side of the equation? Is it on your side of the equation?
I think it's on the government side of the equation. The government's focus is very much on price. There are some structural issues, for example, in cases they're looking for purchasing from small business entities and things like that. Due to our organizational structure, we're not a small business.
Yeah, let me hop ahead. The issue, the trade-off seems to be price versus everything else, right? So if China is going to be subsidizing everything that they do in China, then is our market system such that we cannot compete because everything is all about price? Is that what you're really saying? The only way we can ever get even is if we decide we want to pay a higher price, and because we can certainly get it for less from China, but we lose the security situation. That's what you're trying to call out, isn't it?
Well, price is an important aspect, and that I think affects all of us. And yes, China and India have different ways of looking at the economic market than we do. They made decisions to have much lower prices. In some cases, we're dealing with competition that's below our cost of production.
Right. Well, it seems to me we face this situation in any space that China chooses to focus upon, which is a lot of them. Steel's a good one to talk about for a moment. They can produce steel, 30% more than everybody actually needs. So what I'm trying to get at here, the common theme seems to be if we want to be secure, we're going to have to pay more. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, Congressman, I think in general that is the case. We will have to pay more.
Okay, let me flip over to Mr. Pirbensensi. What prevents China right now from withholding stuff that we actually need? Well, why is it world opinion? Why we see it happening now in the context of negotiations with China? They're withholding rare earth minerals, and we have chips and perhaps certain types of stuff we use in fracking. So there's kind of a little bit of a balance there, not much. But what prevents us from right now being in real trouble in this space?
I'm not sure anything prevents it at the moment. I would say that the key starting materials that we talk about here in medicines are probably the most equivalent to your rare earth metals. And most of those are probably going to India for production, but these routes and channels are well understood if you're the owner of those key starting material plants. I would say that here in the US, we actually don't know where these key starting materials are yet, and it's why we're working on that data source. We'll be done with that in the next few months, and we'll finally have the answer as to where are we vulnerable, and then we can start to try to correct it. One drug at a time. I don't think there's a shortcut to it.
What do you attribute our current, I'm going to say, I don't want to say lack of preparedness, but it appears that we are. Are we not prepared?
The key starting material topic is really chemicals. And the chemicals industry has mostly left the US decades ago. And while there are also API dependencies, and that's not without some challenge, it's even more of an issue upstream, just as Mr. Cashman has described.
Yeah.